Right. In this class, we are going to discuss a very important area in sociology called as political system. We are having a series of lectures called as Basics of Sociology, and today is the sixth lecture. In the earlier five lectures, we have some points to discuss, which are like the basic building blocks for your sociology preparation. The idea of this basics of sociology class is to make you familiar even before you start preparing for your sociology optional some important sociological terms. So when you are already familiar with certain things, you will not have any issue in doing a course which may be a new course for many of you. I have told in the earlier class also, not many students have sociology as their academic discipline. Many of you have come from engineering background, science background, and very few are from humanities. But when you look at the UPSC data, it clearly says that the optional which is selected by many of the aspirants in the time today is sociology. Since sociology is a popular optional and the students are coming from non-sociological background, when I introduce them to the full-fledged comprehensive sociology foundation course, initial days they'll have little bit of difficulty in understanding the subject, but however in due course of time they'll be able to master the subject without any doubt. But I don't want that initial hiccups also now, that it should be a very seamless starting of sociology comprehensive course, which we are going to start on July 5, 2024. Now, the topic which we have taken for today's lecture is the political process or the political system. Now, the very first basic question arises: what is politics? What is politics? Many of you know politics means what? Politics means parties, political parties. Politics means what? Elections. Politics means what? Power. So we have many commonsensical understanding about the topic called as politics. But sociologically speaking, politics refers to the power differentials. Politics refers to the power differentials. Power differentials means what? Power differences. There is one person called X, there is another person called Y, or there is one group called X, there is another group called Y. They have what? Differences in the power. X may have more power than Y. X is having more power, Y is having less power. That is a different question. But the fact of the matter is that no two persons will have same power. No two groups will have same power. Always there will be present power differentials between any two individuals or any two groups. Why there is a power differential in every society? There will be a particular reason for that power differential. Okay, but what you should understand is that the very term politics refers to power differentials. Wherever power differentials are present, there and all politics will be present. Which means that your father is having power than your mother at home, because father is commanding certain things from mother and mother will have to do that. If that is the situation, then father is having more power than mother, and this happens in the system called as family. So in family also there is present what? Power differential. Now there is an office, there is a company. The director of the company or the owner of the company is having a personal assistant. So he is asking his personal assistant to bring a cup of tea, and she is bringing a cup of tea. So he is giving an order and the personal secretary is following that order, which means that in the office also there is power differential. In family also there is power differential. You go to a temple, the priest will have more power than the who? The followers. The priest will have more power. The priest will tell, stand in the queue. The priest will tell, move fastly. So the devotees are following the command of the priest. So priest is having more power than the devotees in the temple. Teacher is having more power than the students in the school or college. The college principal is having more power than the teachers. The doctor is having more power than the patients. So you go to hospital, there is a power differential. You go to college, there is a power differential. You come to family, there is a power differential. You go to religious institution, there is a power differential. You go to family, there is a power differential. So wherever power differentials are present, there and all politics is present. But when we speak about politics, rather than speaking about the power differential in the religious institution, rather than power differential in family, rather than power differential in the education system, we are more speaking about power differential in politics. We are speaking more about power differential in political system. So we have spoken about what is politics. Politics refers to power differentials. The very basic question arises, okay, power differential means differences in the power. What do you mean by power first? What is power? Second point is, what is power? What is power? If you go to science, you study physics, you take the 6th textbook, science book. It says that in science, especially in physics, power means the capacity to do a piece of work. Capacity to do work is called as power. The capability or the ability or the capacity to do work is called as power in science, especially physics. But when you come to sociology, power refers to influence in the society. You can influence others. Power refers to the chance of an individual, or a group to make another individual or a group to act in a way which is not liked by that individual or a group. The chance of an individual or a group, let us call this as X. To make another individual, let us call this as Y. The chance of an individual or a group X to make another individual or group Y to act in a way which is not liked by which group? Which is not liked by the group called Y, because X is commanding and Y is following the command. When you say Y is following the command of the X, Y is doing certain things which Y is not liking. Then why is doing that thing? Why? Because X is compelling. Why should X compel? Or why should Y follow the command coming from X? Many questions will come or not. Why should Y follow what X is telling even though Y is not liking? I'll give you a better example. Teacher tells the students that now you should write a test. Students don't want to write the test. But teacher is compelling the student to write the test, so teacher has more power than the student. Because student is doing certain things which is not liked by the student. I am doing something not because I like, I am doing something which I don't like only, but why I do that thing? Because somebody is compelling me. I should accept that. So the teacher is compelling the student to write a test which the student is not writing, or he is not liking to write. So X is making Y to do something which Y is not liking to do. If Y is also liking to do, then X cannot be said to be powerful. X cannot be said to be powerful when Y is doing certain things on his own. Y is doing something which he is not liking. Why he is doing then? He is not liking that. Why then he is doing that? Why? Because he is being compelled by X. So in this case, why the student will have to follow the command of the teacher? Reason is teacher is having more knowledge than the student. So you know more. That is why I have to do whatever you say, even though I don't like what you say. Knowledge is the basis of power. Teacher is having so much of knowledge, which is why student is doing, even though he is not liking to do. So the source of power comes from knowledge. Okay. An IPS officer is putting an order. He is passing an order. A traffic rules. He is the commissioner of traffic, joint commissioner of traffic. He is putting a rule that whatever road which we are using for two-way traffic, it is only for one way. He is telling that this is one way, don't go. So you are a passerby, you are a two-wheeler person or a four-wheeler person. Okay, who told that I should not go? IPS officer has given the order. You accept it. So IPS officer is having more power over the public. Why? Because he is IPS. This IPS is the source of power. For teacher student case, knowledge is the source of power. In IPS case, source of power is IPS itself. Specialization. Okay. So what is power? Power refers to the chance of an individual or a group to make others to do something which others are not liking to do. So only A has power over B, or B has power over A. Power is of two types. It can be legitimate power. It can be illegitimate power. It can be legitimate power. It can be illegitimate power also. Illegitimate power means a power which comes because of coercion, force. Example, a don. You listen to what the don says. Legitimate power means, example, IPS officer. So what do you mean by legitimate? Legitimate means approved by people. Why people approve that power of IPS officer? Because people believe that IPS officer will not misuse power. IPS officer will use power for people's benefit, for people's purpose. So this belief will be there in the mind of the people, and therefore they will voluntarily accept the power of IPS office. Now this is what is called as authority in sociology. Legitimate power is called as authority. This is what is called as authority. Legitimate power is called as authority. This is a sustainable power. It will sustain. Why? Because people believe that you will not misuse power. So therefore, voluntarily people will do what you wanted them to do. But this will not be sustainable because Don will become old. He will be physically weak. Now people don't listen to what he says. But in this case, the IPS officer may be 60 years old on the verge of retirement, but still what he says, people will follow. You know that in a village temple festival and all, some 1,000 people will gather. Some 1,000 people will gather to maintain order, peace in that festival. Where 1,000 people are there, only 5 police constables will be there. The khaki uniform, not about the physical power of the person who is wearing. Khaki gives you that power. So people see the khaki uniform and they listen to what the person wearing khaki uniform says. So khaki uniform is legitimate power. Because people believe that the one who is wearing khaki is police and police will protect people. Police will not misuse their power. So that belief is there in the people, which is why it is called as legitimate power, and legitimate power is called as authority. So these are the elements of authority. Authority has there is a ruler, there is ruled, will of the ruler to command, and obedience will come. Obedience to command from the ruled. There should be a ruler, there should be people, and the ruler should be having a desire to command, and people should be voluntarily obeying the command. So voluntary obedience to the command of the ruler. These 4 components should be there in authority. Okay, these 4 components should be there in authority. What and all we have seen today? What is politics? Number 2, what is power? Number 3, what is authority? And 4th, we will see what is state. And 5th, we will see what is nation. Sixth, we will see what is civil society. Seventh, we will see what is political parties. Eighth, we will see what is pressure group. Okay. So this we have seen. What is politics? Politics means power differential. What is power? Power means making others to do something which others are not willing to do, and authority is legitimate power. Now what is state? State means what? State refers to, number one, people. Number two, territory. Number three, administration. So state refers to population, territory, and administration. State refers to a political society. In the larger society, there is one political society. So that political society always contains people. Politics is not just about people, it is about territory, it is about administrative system. So this is what is called as government. This is what is called as government. The concept of state we have discussed is from the point of view of polity. Then what is sociology of state? To understand this, you should understand Thomas Hobbes' concept of social contract theory. Initially, society was a headless society. You call it as acephalous. Acephalous means no head, headless society. Nobody is the head. There are only people, nobody is the ruler, and nobody is ruled. There are only people in a group. But when there is no head, what happens? Confusion happens. Therefore, cephalous society came. Cephalous society came. This society is a society which is having a ruler or a head. All societies today, all modern societies today are societies having ruler or head. How head is elected in a democracy? The head is elected by the people. Whereas in the traditional society, the head is coming by virtue of inheritance. So it is based on hereditary. It is based on hereditary reasons that the head is selected. For example, after the king, king's son will become the king. So this is a traditional society. But in modern society, There should be election by the people of the head. Head will be elected by the people. Now come to Thomas Hobbes' social contract. Social means people. Contract means agreement. So people agree to create a state. And that state will be all powerful. That state will be all powerful. That all powerful state is called a sovereign state. Why there is a need for social contract? Hobbes says man is selfish. Therefore, he will wage a war against all. Everybody will fight against everybody because of their selfish nature. So this will lead to the death of the society. Society will cease. Now to avoid the death of the society, what you should do? All people will have to enter into an agreement, and that is called a social contract. Through that agreement, they will create a state, and state will be all powerful, state will be sovereign. So they will listen to what state says, and that will bring order, that will bring peace in the society. So the origin of state lies in people being selfish. When I am selfish, when you are selfish, when everyone is selfish, then we all will try to kill each other person. Now what will happen? There will be no society. If everybody is killing everybody, then no society will be there. So people come to an agreement, okay, let us not fight with each other. Let us surrender to the supreme called state. Let us create that state. We'll make that state all powerful. We will do what the state is telling. We will listen to what state is telling. And in democracy, that state is elected by the people every 5 years. And recently, that state got elected at the national level. You know about that. So the reason for why there has to be a state is to prevent confusion, to prevent chaos, to prevent war of all against all by the selfish nature of man. Because of the selfish nature of man, there is a need for a state, according to Thomas Hobbes. So, sociology of state should be attributed to the writing of Thomas Hobbes, and the theory is called a social contract theory. So, this is what is called a state. Okay. Now, what is called as nation? Nation is an imagination. People living in a territory, they have a feeling of oneness, which means they have a we feeling. So since it is a feeling, it is only imagination. It is an imagined feeling. So nation is not real. It is only an imagination. Therefore, it is often said that nation refers to imagined communities. Nation refers to imagined communities. It is an idea that we are all Indians. We are all one. It's an idea. It comes out of imagination. Why that imagination should come? That imagination actually came in 18th century. Sociologists are telling 18th century, 19th century only that imagination came. So modern state, they speak about modern nation, comes because of imagination of oneness. You just imagine that you are all one. But are you really one? Are you really one? You are not really one. You imagine that you are one. So India as a nation is only an idea. Before British came, people belonging to Tamil Nadu, they belong to different nations. Pandya kingdom was there, Pallava kingdom was there, Chera kingdom was there, Chola kingdom was there. In fact, Pandyas and Cholas have to fight with each other. If you come to Tamil Nadu today, Chola kingdom is in the Tiruchirappalli region. Pandya kingdom, Madurai. 100-kilometer difference between Madurai and Tiruchirappalli. Actually speaking, in the past, this is one kingdom, Madurai, called Pandya kingdom, and Tiruchirappalli called Chola kingdom, Tanjavur called Chola kingdom. So they were fighting war with each other. Now all are one. Since it is an imagination, it is going to change frequently. That is the idea you should know. It's an imagination. Will you have imagination? Same imagination always. You'll have different imaginations. No. Suddenly you'll think that people who speak in the same language, they are all one. So it is linguistic nationalism. Suddenly you'll tell that people who are practicing the same religion, they belong to nation. It is called religious nationalism. Yes or no? So imagination is creating a feeling of oneness. Since it is an imagination, imagination will not be like a rock which will be permanently present in a place. Imagination is just your thinking. Your thinking keeps on changing. So earlier you thought that you belong to a particular nation. Then you think that you don't belong to that nation. You belong to some other nation. So it is very variable. The idea is a very flexible idea. Nation is a very flexible concept. And why people, sociologists are telling, by 18th century in the West, especially in Europe, 18th century, they wanted to create a nation. Why? Because the villages were destroyed by industrialization. So the real oneness is broken. The real oneness is broken. Villages are broken. The real oneness present in the villages, countrysides are broken because of industrial revolution, because of modernization. So artificially you create a nation now. When old unity is gone, you try to form new unity. When old friend left you, you try to find new friend. Yes or no? So likewise, when old friend is left, you are creating a new friend. And that new friend is called as modern nation. Old friend is who? The village. Village got broken because of industrialization. Cities came. So what you do? You wanted to create new nation. So modern nation is an imagination. Modern nation comes because of modernization. And in Europe, it happened in 18th century, 19th century. In India, it happened in 20th century. And that is what is called as India's struggle for independence. So imagination it is. And here where you should understand the politics. Since it is imagination, it can be manipulated. This is a water bottle. This is a solid thing. It cannot be manipulated because it has its own structure, rigid structure, steel structure. But idea is not as solid like this bottle, no. Idea is not like a rock solid thing. Idea is a fluid thing. So something which is fluid, I can change. If you put the water, the shape of the water is based on the container in which you are putting the water. So what container you are using? You are using a container called religion, and this is what is called as Hindu nationalism. You are using a container called as language, and therefore it is called as Tamil nationalism. You are using religion, and that is called as Khalistan nation in Punjab earlier. So one can manipulate the imagination in the mind of the people. Since it is only an idea, can be manipulated. All these things we will see in the sociology class, unit number 7 of paper 1, we'll see in detail. Just I am giving you an idea. Okay. Then what else we have to see? We should see. This is done. This is done. What do you mean by civil society? Civil society means a society, a group which checks the power of the state, so that state cannot commit excesses. Excesses means what? State cannot violate the fundamental rights of people. So who and all will defend the people from the state excesses, the state high-handedness? They are called a civil society. So who is civil society? Civil society is a group of people who will protect people. Why people should be protected? From whom people should be protected? People should be protected from the state. If state becomes a dictatorship state, state will violate all the rights of the people. So to ensure that the state is not violating the rights of the people, to ensure that the state high-handedness is not there, to ensure that the state is not a despotic state, a dictatorship state, there is a group which will be working, and that is called a civil society. For example, media is a civil society. If the government is using excessive force against people, media is highlighting this is how police bet the people, this is how police tortured the innocent person. Like that, it projects the wrongness of the police, wrongness of the government to defend the rights of the people. So that is why media is called a civil society. Okay, Karl Marx, one legendary scholar, he refers civil society to market forces which operate independent of the state. So for Karl Marx, market force is civil society. Civil society means it is not a state. Then who is civil society? It is non-state, which will protect the rights of the people, ensure that state is not violating the rights of the people, state is not becoming dictator state. That is what is called as civil society. Okay, so anti-corruption movement is called as civil society. People who work for the liberties of the people called as civil society. The group which works for the empowerment of women is called as civil society. All India Democratic Women Association is civil society. A group which is working for protection of environment, they also can be called a civil society because they are protecting the people's rights. So anyone who is protecting people's right is called a civil society. Now, political party. Political party is present only in modern society. In traditional society, king will be there. There is nothing called a party. But in modern society, you have political party. Only through political party, you can seize the state power. So it is through political party that you become the ruling party. You form the government. So you should seize the state power through elections, not through violence, and that is called as democracy. So it refers to a group of people whose intention is to form the government by contesting in the election. For example, BJP, Congress, Samajwadi Party, they are all political party. They are group of people who whose aim is to form the government. Okay, why you have to form a group to form the government? Individually, I cannot have power to form the government. So we people, like-minded people, will come together. We will have an ideology, and we will go to the people, contest in the election, and we will be forming the government. Okay, so directly contesting in the election, holding the political office as a group, that is what is the reason for the presence of political party. This is different from pressure group. Pressure group will not contest in the election, no election. They will influence the government to take a decision in their favor. They will not contest in the election. They will not directly rule the people. They will put pressure on the government so that government will take a decision in their favor. Simple example of pressure group is the FICCI, a business pressure group. Trade union, a pressure group, who will not directly contest in the election. So pressure group means they will not contest in the election. They will only influence the government to take a decision in their favor. Political party means they will contest in the election and they will form the government. Okay. So what and all we have done in today's class, just I wanted to reiterate. We have done what is politics. What is politics? Politics means power differentials, power differences. What is power? Legitimate. What is power? Power is ability to make others to do something which others are not willing to do. So it is only influence making others to do something which others are not willing to do. And authority is legitimate power. State is about social contract theory. Nation is an imagination, an idea, so it can be manipulated. Civil society means a non-state group which will protect the rights of the people and prevent the state from becoming a dictator. Political party, they will contest in the election. They will contest in the election and form the government. Political parties, this is people, this is government, and they are like the in between. This is political party. So they will be reaching the people, know the people's mind, go to the government, tell that this is what people wanted, and the government will make the policy to cater to the people. So they are like a conveyor belt between the government and the people who political party. But pressure group is not political party, that they will not contest in the election. They will try to influence the government to take decision in their favor. Right? And the last, you can add this thing, citizenship. Citizenship. Citizenship refers to the relationship between individual and the state. The individual and the state, what relationship the individual has with the state, that is called as citizenship. The state is ruling a group, and in that group individuals are there. So it is the relation between individuals and the state, right? Since individuals are ruled by the state, individuals will be given by the state rights, and in reciprocity individual will give his duty to the state. So state and individuals have a reciprocal relation. State is giving to the individual rights, and these rights may be civic rights, political rights, socio-economic rights. In return, individual will have certain duties towards the state. They are called as fundamental duties. Civic rights means, for example, right to freedom of speech. It is a very basic thing for the individual. What is very basic? Having a right to speak. So it comes under the concept of civic right. Political right means right to vote. Socio-economic right means right to work, right to public assistance. They are all socio-economic rights. Understood? So in our constitution, this is present in part 3, and this is present in part 4 called DPSP. This is present in part 3 called as fundamental rights. Okay, so the concept of citizenship is connected to state. State is a territorial unit. But what happens because of globalization? Globalization results in deterritorialization. Territories are becoming blurred. Free trade is happening beyond the territorial border. Migrations are happening. So, unlike in the past where you can't move across the border, today everything is connected. Free trade is there. Goods produced in one place can be distributed in another place. People can freely move from one country to another country. Air travel has become very cheap. Okay, so which means that territory is not limiting your freedom of movement. You can move from one country to another country. So the territory is becoming very blurred. If the concept of citizenship is connected to territory, when territory itself is becoming very diluted today due to globalization, what is the future for citizenship? So this is a very interesting dimension which will be seen in the class. In sociology, 7th unit of paper 1, we will see this concept. Citizenship is connected to state. State is a territorial unit. But the territory is not becoming very significant today. Territory is becoming blurred, that people can move from one place to another place easily. People can buy goods from one place to another place, from one place to another place. So freedom of movement of trade, freedom of movement of goods and services, freedom of movement of people, and this is what is called a deterritorialization. Globalization has resulted in deterritorialization. What is the future of citizenship? Today, we are not a citizen. Today, the concept of citizenship is expanding. If you go to Europe, people there are citizens of their nation as well as citizens of their European Union. So they are called as Euro citizen. All the countries in the European Union, they have one citizenship concept, Euro citizen. And there is an emergence of new concept called as green citizenship, which means that we are all one only. Because if there is one pollution in one country is polluting the planet Earth, it affects the other country also. So environment is uniting all of us. Politics may divide us. I am a Pakistani, you are an Indian. Like that, politics may divide us. But environment will unite us, because if I am polluting the sea or the rivers, definitely it will affect all the countries. There I cannot say that I am different, you are different. We are all sufferers because of the climate change related threats. So everybody is one. In that context, they are talking about a new concept called as green citizenship. So these are some of the topics which I wanted to just give you as brief insight about in today's lecture. Meet you in the next basics of sociology class. All the very best. Thank you.